What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Not in the office today, feeling a little under the weather, but we do still have some big-time news to discuss around Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins, turns out his rehabilitation process is going way better than any of us would ever have thought. He did post a video on Twitter, which we'll be diving into. Then also, Charley Walter, a longtime beat reporter for the Minnesota Times, reported that a Justin Jefferson trade could be gaining steam. So definitely juicy rumors to talk about on today's show. But before we dive into it, guys, if I could ask you to hit that subscribe button, lock us in as your go-to Vikings YouTube channel. The goal I put was 25 subs on today's video. So if there are 25 of you guys that have not hit that sub button yet, go down there, lock us in as your go-to Vikings YouTube channel. But let's talk about the news here. So let's start off with Kirk Cousins on the first half of today's video. He posted a video on Twitter this morning, and it was him. He was actually at a tennis court, and he was just going through dropbacks, and he was moving so well on that Achilles. And it was funny. Immediately when I thought about this video, if you guys remember at the NFL award ceremony, Kirk did that dance with Cameron Jordan of the New Orleans Saints, and he was moving well on that torn Achilles. We obviously know he did get that surgery. I believe it was probably around, honestly, like 2-3 months ago at this point. But, you know, Kirk, he's moving well, and the immediate question I thought about was, like, is this affecting how much Kirk will ask for? Like, when I saw this, I was like, did Kirk and his agent almost put this video out there, kind of almost sending a message to the Minnesota Vikings? You know, was this calculated? I'm not sure. But if it was calculated, I could see Kirk being like, hey, look at how far I've already kind of came during my process here. I'm going to be ready for training camp, which he has already came out and said that is his goal, to be 100% by training camp. I'm sure they're using this as almost a little bit of a steam and kind of, you know, momentum to get him a bigger contract, because they're probably also saying, hey, Atlanta, they're going to offer us $40+ million a year fully guaranteed. And, you know, when you add that on top of, you know, Kirk kind of already, you know, ahead of his rehab process, I think it becomes less or more likely that he does not take a hometown discount, which I was in the camp that I thought Kirk would have. You know, I thought Kirk had the chance to sign a 2-year, $60 million deal fully guaranteed with the Vikings. You could have played the card where it's like, you're going to keep your family in Minnesota. You know, we were really turning the page last year right before you got hurt. We really think we can compete in this weaker NFC conference. And, you know, maybe Kirk Cousins is, you know, sitting there saying, I'm going to be fully ready by training camp. And I got other teams like Atlanta, maybe even a team like Pittsburgh, you know, offering me bigger deals. He may want to roll his die and go somewhere else. So I definitely, you know, I think this is positive news for Vikings fans if Kirk obviously is the quarterback next season. But I'm almost starting to think, was this a calculated move by Kirk and his agent, you know, with the NFL scouting combine this week, you know, with all these trade rumors, you know, starting to kind of, you know, heat up here. Like, was this calculated by Kirk Cousins? I am not sure. But hey, you guys let me know down in the comments section. Do you think this was a calculated move by Kirk Cousins to post this to help maybe his contract negotiations? Let me know down in the comments section. Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. Let me know your thoughts down below. But now I do want to get into the second story on today's show, and that was around Justin Jefferson, as Charley Walter reported that a trade could be gaining steam for Minnesota. And we've heard Jefferson come out and say he's not signing that contract extension unless he knows for sure the quarterback plan in Minnesota, whether that is to bring back Kirk Cousins or whether that is to draft a guy at 11 or potentially move up in the NFL draft. Now, I think if the Vikings were to trade Jefferson, the only way they would want to make that deal is if they are moving up in the NFL draft. I don't think it's going to be for, you know, they're trading Jefferson for maybe, you know, the 15th pick and like 3 first round picks after that. I think if they were to move off number 18, it would be to go get maybe Jaden Daniels, maybe the New England Patriots, you know, call up Minnesota and say, hey, we want to still give Mac Jones a chance and we want to get the best weapons we can around him. We'll offer you the 3rd overall pick for Justin Jefferson. Maybe that's up their cards. We did hear the report that at the Senior Bowl, Kwesi was starting to plant his seed with potentially trading up with New England in this year's draft. So I could see them, but I think this comes down to how much does Minnesota really like these quarterbacks? Like, is Jaden Daniels their guy? Like, if they fall in love with Jaden Daniels and they say, you know, no matter what, we need him coming out of this year's draft, would they be willing to move off Jefferson? Because you think about it, from their side of things, they're probably thinking, oh, we still have great weapons. We still have Jordan Addison, other couple of young receivers, and Jalen Naylor. Bring KJ Osborne back. You still got 2 good tight ends in Hockenson and Oliver, and you could get, Jaden Daniels on that rookie deal. Maybe that's what they're thinking. But overall, you guys know my stance on, the trading Jefferson thing is like, the only way I'm considering it is if it's a deal where it's like, even, the diehard Jefferson fans are like, oh, that makes sense. Like, that's the only way I'm making it. If it's for multiple first-round picks, I'm not just doing it to trade up to number 3 in this year's draft class, unless, maybe it's a guy like Drake May. Maybe the Commanders go, Jaden Daniels at 2 and somehow Drake May is there at 3, even though I do think the Patriots would take him. But maybe you say, draft night, he falls, you're like, hey, New England, we'll give you Justin Jefferson right now, give us that 3rd overall pick, and you say that's your quarterback of the future. But again, I just really don't think it's going to happen, and maybe that's my wishful thinking as a Vikings fan. I just want him to get extended and we move on, and it's all positive vibes heading into training camp. But it's definitely interesting right now because the Vikings have so many of these big question marks around very important positions in the NFL. Like, if I had to say probably the 4 most important positions in the league, obviously quarterback's number 1. What's going on with Kirk Cousins? Nobody really knows. Haven't really heard any, negotiation updates on that standpoint. Justin Jefferson, I'd probably say receiver is probably one of the more important positions in the league right now. You got trade rumors around him. He may not even sign an extension. Like, there's a question marks there. Talk about edge rusher with Danielle Hunter. If he doesn't re-sign, you're probably looking at one of the worst groupings in the National Football League. And, probably throwing like offensive tackle in there as well, where you've heard the rumors around restructuring Brian O'Neill and all that. So, listen, I'm not really too sure what Kwesi's plan is right now. I don't know if it kind of just seems like they're taking this on the fly sort of approach. But, I mean, Charley Walters is definitely connected with the Minnesota Vikings, and he wouldn't just come out and say this unless he heard it from somebody. And I don't know if the Vikings are throwing his name out there or if this is just people calling for them, but well, obviously you have to, wait and see. I want you guys to scale for me down in the comment section. How likely is it that Justin Jefferson gets a deal done? 1 through 100, give me a percentage down below. I'm still sitting at 90%. Earlier on this offseason, I was at 100. I said no doubt a deal gets done, but more reports, news pieces come out. It's definitely lowering that. I'm now more at around 90%. But overall, with where the Vikings are kind of heading, I still have my ideal outcome for this. I've talked about this on my perfect free agency video that I did and a perfect offseason video. I still want the Vikings to bring back Kirk Cousins, but it has to be on a team-friendly deal. I am not giving Kirk the 2-year, $100 million deal, the 2-year, $90 million deal fully guaranteed. I'm telling him 2 for 70, 2 for 60, take it or leave it, and that's our final offer. That's where I would want him to play it, because then it doesn't take you out of possibility of still drafting a quarterback at 11. If you like a guy like J.J. McCarthy, if you like a guy like Michael Penix, and they are there at 11, you can still take him, have them sit behind Kirk Cousins for a year or 2. And then this also offers, if Kirk takes a team-friendly deal, then you can extend Jefferson. Then you can give him that massive contract, make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. And then it also, could leave the door open for a guy like Danielle Hunter coming back. Or if you say, hey, we'll give you $22 million, you can come back, be familiar, or you already are familiar with this organization. Maybe he takes a little less instead of going to a place like Washington, which you've heard Washington's going to be a big buyer in on Danielle. Maybe you'll offer him $25 million a year. But that's what I would do. Offer Kirk that team-friendly deal. If he says no, then you definitely have to go in the draft to get a quarterback. You could even go maybe the Russell Wilson route, or maybe, Ryan Tannehill, one of these other guys. But, that's what I would do. Then you can extend Jefferson and possibly even bring back Kirk Cousins. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Was feeling a little bit under the weather, so thank you guys for just being patient with me. But, thank you guys so much for watching. That was updates on Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. See you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.